Recording. So hello everyone, welcome to the IT Career Expo for spring 2021. This is the second or third semester that we've had to do this virtually. And every time I do it, it still feels weird. So I thank you for your grace and patience with us while we still deal with technology and not being able to do this in person. So today we are doing a panel discussion on exploring careers in tech. And I don't know if you students know that there are a wide range of opportunity for you within the tech industry itself, and also in other industries that are, related to tech. So today we have a variety of panelists, and you can see on the slide deck that I'm sharing where they work and what they do. And today we're just going to ask them a few questions for the first half hour, and then I will turn it over to you so you can ask them all the questions that are driving you crazy and keeping you awake at night about your future IT careers. How's that sound, everyone? Good. Let me stop sharing so we can see everybody's faces. All right, so the very first thing, of course, I want to ask is that we introduce ourselves. So I want to start with Angela, since you're at the top of my screen. Would you please let everybody know who you are, what you do, and what you love about tech?
All right, so I'm Angela Henderson. I'm the senior. My title has recently changed. I'm the director of IT project management for BC Forward. I just recently moved into this role. Prior to that, I was a senior director of IT for BC Forward. And starting at the beginning of this year, I've moved into taking over all of our project management. That part of it is interesting for me because I guess they liked the way that I was handling our projects here at the company. It wasn't necessarily a career path that I would have chosen because I kind of would prefer to let someone else handle that. But they liked the way that I was getting our projects moving forward and getting a handle. So that's the route that I've taken. So I'm moving more into that role. I've spent my entire career in business intelligence and data warehousing. And so I've mostly been on the application side of it. But so what I like about IT, I like data. I can sit there and swim in data all day, every day. And it's just like my comfort zone. And I can be one of those people that can get lost in Excel and just not even think about anything else. But I mean, there's just so many opportunities. There's so many paths and routes that you can take that it's hard to really pinpoint anything. If you like tech and you like IT, then you're going to be going down the right path. But again, I graduated from IU Bloomington 95 from the Kelley School of Business. And then I took a break off, went off and worked and got my career up and going. And then I decided I wanted to go back to school. So then I went back in 2012 and got my MBA from Indiana Wesleyan in applied management because I decided that I didn't want to be a developer anymore. I wanted to move into management. And then I got into management. I was thinking maybe I should have stayed in development because I don't know if I'm cut off for all this management stuff. But it's been a journey for sure. I still feel like I got a long way to go and a lot to learn. I can see a lot of faces on here, people that I've already kind of adopted as my mentors. So the one good thing I will say about IT is that, especially here in Indianapolis, is that the circle is so small that once you get into it and once you start meeting people, there are so many people who can kind of help you along the way and help lift you up. So I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Miss Angela. Next on my list is Jeff Tunn. He is a author, a speaker, an explorer, and he founded and manages the CIO network here in Indy, which is Chief Information Officers, the big guys. Jeff, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. So yes, today I'm an author, speaker, explorer, which really is coach for IT professionals. I work with emerging leaders and established leaders to help them grow in their career as part of that explorer piece of what I do. But I spent 40 years in information technology, 35 years in what's called corporate IT. So for companies whose main product is not a technology product, in various leadership roles, as well as spending 10 years as chief information officer for a couple of organizations here in Indianapolis. Before I moved to the tech industry itself, for the last 5 years working as an executive for a tech services company, Intervision Systems, that has offices here in the Indy area. I left that organization about a year ago this time to go out on my own and do the speaking, the writing, and the coaching full time. So technology, I have always loved technology. Obviously, I've been doing it for as long as the planet's been around, it seems like. Because I love what it does for businesses. It can change the way a business operates. It can change the way a business interacts with its customers. Businesses today need technology to grow and thrive, and I love what that brings to an organization. There's nothing more satisfying to me. Back when I was a coder, I was just telling someone this morning what I loved doing as a developer was listening to someone's business problem and being able to solve that problem through code, and then turning it over to them and saying, here you go. And they would get all excited because it helped their problem. Like Angela, I moved into management in my career as well. And what I found there was I loved helping people grow in their career. And I always told my employees, my team, that the proudest day of my career would be when you walk in my office to resign because you're going to be CIO somewhere else. It means I did my job and I got you ready. So it's an exciting industry, and now is the most exciting time to be involved in tech. So thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Jeff, so much for being here today. Next, I see Miles. He is the president of an organization called Indie Hackers. It's a nonprofit that brings like-minded individuals together in affinity groups to network and to grow and to expand knowledge. He also just recently took a position at a new company as a director of engineering. So Miles, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you love about tech?
I don't know, you covered everything, Jessica. So
I figured. I started talking, I was like, oh great, I'm leaving them with nothing.
No, it was great. Yeah, I am the director of engineering, director of software engineering, I guess to be more specific, at DriverReach. And before that, I was director of engineering at a startup called Olio. So I feel like I've been mostly doing tech startups for the past 10 years at least. I previously ran a small software development consultancy called Fretless. And yeah, as far as Indie Hackers goes, it's a community organization, as Jessica said, that's just focused on helping individuals locally grow and connect with other individuals of a like mind, right? So between that and running, I think Jessica has called them affinity groups, which is my new favorite term for them, like the Indie Ruby Brigade, a bunch of us nerds who like the Ruby programming language, and helping out with some of the other groups like that, Indie JavaScript and Indie Elixir and that sort of thing. Those are the things that I get into. But yeah, really love software engineering, but like several people have mentioned, have gone into the management thing, and so that's kind of where my path is taking me. And similar to Jeff, really love helping others to grow in their careers and take that next step up. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Miles. Zach, you're next. Zach is a data scientist extraordinaire, does amazing things. Go ahead and tell us who you are, what you do, what you love.
Absolutely. I'm Zach Cardwell. I'm the Vice President of Data Science at Vertex Intelligence, and I'm a data scientist by trade. Most of my time is spent being a data scientist. So what that means is that I invent things, I code a bunch of things up, and I try and help businesses understand what data they have and what they can do with it. I actually kind of got into this field by accident, to tell you the truth. So I graduated from Purdue with a degree in math and physics. And, I had no idea what I wanted to do with it afterwards. I thought I was going to go to grad school, but I did not want to be in school any longer. No offense to the educators out there. I was just kind of tired of it. And I ended up taking a job at a help desk at a grocery store that I was working on, the Marsh supermarkets at the time. They're gone now, but yeah, I took a corporate help desk job there, and that actually introduced me to coding and how businesses work and everything that you can do with technology. And I kind of built those skills and eventually jumped over to the data science side, because data science is really, it's basically all the learnings and everything that you get from physics and math. You can translate it directly over to that and start building really cool algorithms. So I've been doing data science for a while. I have worked in just about every industry you can name, from grocery to, oh gosh, logistics to healthcare to marketing. The biggest company and biggest organization I've worked with so far is the Department of Defense. We're working on a project right now with them to help schedule all their mission plans and all that, which is quite cool. And it's been an adventure. It's a very new field, and I've been having a blast with it. The company I'm at right now is a company that I own in part, called Vertex Intelligence, and we basically productize data insights and development and services so that more companies can get ahead with data science than possible before. And yeah, that's just about it for me.
That's you in a nutshell. So much.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, you have a rich history. I was looking at your LinkedIn page, which you all should have links to in the email that I sent out. There's links to everybody's LinkedIn page, which you should connect with everybody that you meet today on there. That's how you build your network, hint. So next we have Dustin Hutchinson, who is not only an adjunct professor here at Ivy Tech. At night, he moonlights as a VP and a CISO, of Pondurance, a cybersecurity firm here in Indy. Dustin?
Yeah, there you go. Get the real job first, the adjunct.
The most important, yep.
Exactly. So yeah, my real job, adjunct at Ivy Tech. I'm just kidding. So my days are spent as the VP services and CISO at Pondurance. So it's a cybersecurity firm headquartered in Indianapolis. I've been around for over a decade. And so the VP of services, that means all the different service lines that are customer facing report up through me. So we've got a security operations center, digital forensics incident response, pen testing, application security testing, and then also continuity and compliance consultants. And so what we try to do for our clients is really, give them that one-stop shopping to help their cybersecurity program mature the right way. And so that's the VP of services side. The CISO side is, I have to look internally what we're doing, because we're also, a managed services company. Are we staying compliant? Are we staying secure? We don't want to be the next SolarWinds or whatever story on the front page of the newspaper. So, both, important hats to wear. But, like Jessica said, the adjunct work at Ivy Tech is really important to me. I've been doing it for about 10 years. I'm an adjunct at a number of different schools, ranging from the undergrad all the way up through doctorate level. So I really do enjoy, like what everybody else has said, helping people down their career path. And so I try to bridge that gap as much as I possibly can, from education to actual job roles, and help people get job ready at all different levels.
We love you for it. Thank you so much, sir. Michael Loggins from SMC, my bad. He's here with us to talk about his role working for one of the larger industrial automation plants organizations in the world, I would say, right? Yeah. Take it away, sir.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Good to meet everyone. Mike Loggins. I'm Global Vice President of IT for SMC. SMC is a global organization, actually headquartered in Japan, but our North American headquarters are located in Noblesville, Indiana. I've been here for about 15 years. I've been in IT for about 22 years. I was able to grow from, I started 22 years ago as a help desk analyst and have been able to pick up skills and learn through work and on-job training to get to where I am. The thing about IT right now, and I think not to just echo Jeff, but IT is no longer just an internal expense cost, a cost group inside of a company that is kind of like the necessary evil to run. We're really at a different place where we are in the middle of everything. The businesses don't run without IT. So getting in now and getting an understanding of that, that's awesome. What drives me is being able to solve problems. My toolbox for years was whatever technology I could bring to the table. Support, service, infrastructure. I did security. Now I've been in management, so my toolbox I bring is empowering my people and letting them learn and grow, so they can then have the same capabilities that I did when I was in their seat. So, yeah, it's great to see so many interested people, and look forward to talking more.
Thank you so much. And then Roberta, are you, from IU Health? Do we have some? Okay, yep. Yep. Sorry for the confusion on that.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
So I'm Roberta Brown, and I think there's going to be a couple of us actually from IU Health, but I'm actually from decision support with IU Health that reports up through information services within IU Health. I've been with IU Health for 18 years. I started in marketing. I've done quality work. I've done regulatory work. Spent about 8 years working with patient experience data. So that got me into the data world. And then about 7 years ago, I transitioned full-time into decision support that is then ultimately IS and IT. So I didn't think I was going to start in IT. My background is I actually have my master's of health administration. So I knew I wanted to do something in healthcare, just didn't know exactly what it was. And so just all the different experiences that are out there led my path here. And so, as I said, I'm one of the managers within that area, and my area is really primarily focused on helping get the data into the hands of other individuals within the organization. So we help build tabular models, which work very similar to pivot tables for those of you that's new, or how do we get new data into our warehouse so people can access the hundreds of different source systems that we have. That's a very high level. So nice to meet everybody. I see some friendly faces. There's a couple of people that I worked with 18 years ago with IU Health that are seeing on there. So hi, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Brad Fruth, the man, the enigma of Beck's hybrids.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, thank you very much, Jessica. I'll tell you, I'm very humbled to be part of this group here. You've got some a lot of fantastic people. So I don't know what you had to do, Jessica, to get us all together here, but I will be expecting a box of donuts at the office tomorrow. So anyway, my name is Brad Fruth. I'm the Director of Innovation here at Beck's Hybrids. For those of you that don't know, Beck's Hybrids is a family-owned and operated seed corn company based out of Indiana here. We're now the third largest retail seed brand in the nation. And so I started at Beck's 16 years ago, right out of school. I actually interned with them. I was so desperate for a summer job. I applied for an internship as a marketing associate of all people, and got a phone call, and they said, hey, we don't want you to make posters and banners and all that kind of stuff. We think we want a computer intern. I had a strong back. They had a new office. And the joke here at Beck's actually is my network login and email is just brad@beckshybrids.com, because the person that hired me didn't think I'd last more than 3 weeks. And that was back in 2001. So there was a small IT group of us of 3 folks. The company was only 68 people. We've gone through tremendous growth. And so we now have 750 people in the organization. Our IT staff is 67. And so I'll tell you, it is super exciting to be in tech, as a lot of the other people have mentioned. When you enable growth in the business and you enable new product lines and you're delivering value to your customer and you see it making an impact, that is very, very, very cool. And just like some other people had just mentioned, the Indy Network, if you guys have not tapped into it, is a great resourceful group of people. Jeff Tunn has helped me out. I've spent many cups of coffee with him reminiscing, and he's helped me out a ton in my career here. So there are lots of folks. There are lots of groups. There's probably a networking group in Indy that likes to network with tin cans and duct tape if you look hard enough. So it's been a super exciting field to be in, and lots of opportunities to grow and do things. I never thought I'd be in agriculture, and we're in ag. We love it, and it is absolutely great to be making an impact and work in a high-tech field like agriculture. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We're so lucky to have you here because I do think that AgTech is overlooked a lot, and we are in an agricultural state, so it just makes sense, right? And
yeah, and I don't, I don't want to brag, but we are the coolest field here. So
you really are. If you've never been to Beck's hybrids, it's like the best looking Indiana corn-fed campus I've ever seen. Out in the middle of nowhere.
Is that a fat joke, Jessica?
No.
Okay.
I'm being truthful. It makes me feel like I'm a Hoosier. I'm a Hoosier. It makes me proud to be a Hoosier. And then finally, Nathan, you're from IU Health as well. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Nathan Bohanan. I've been with IU Health almost 5 years. I've been in consulting for almost 20 years, in IT consulting. I've worked in all sorts of places, Fortune 100s, startups, managed services, traveled a whole lot around the country. And this is the first time I've actually worked for a company. So I work at IU Health, have for the last about 5 years, and it is one of the best opportunities I've had for a great purpose. So in the last year, we've had to be nimble and pivot and get people home safely and to provide devices for folks, sometimes in really, tough situations. But it's that call to service has been just really powerful to me. And I will tell you, if nothing else happens this year, one of my greatest accomplishments for my team is that even though we're on the infrastructure side of IT, and it's like you feel like you're kind of far away from patient care, we've put in over 180 hours of volunteer time to COVID-19 vaccine clinics. And I'm really proud of the team. So let me tell a little bit about what we do here, what we're doing at IU Health. So let me not answer that call. We support all of the end user devices in the field. So that's 30,000 employees, all the compute devices that can hold. So that's mobile devices, computers, VDI, all of the fancy single sign-on badge tap that clinicians have going around our campuses that are pretty much ubiquitous at this point across the 18 hospitals that serve 1 out of every 3 Hoosiers. We're getting ready for a new Bloomington hospital. We're expanding up into Fort Wayne. There's all sorts of very interesting projects and programs that we're working on. But yeah, our team is physical devices, virtual devices, VDI, printing and faxing, the millions of faxes and prints that still happen somehow in this day and age. All of that is kind of covered on the team that we handle here. Lots and lots of applications and fun stuff. And we partner with Pondurance to take a look and help us cover our 6 as we go through and try to make change. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for hearing me out.
No problem. Thank you for joining us. All right. Well, introductions took longer than I expected, but that's good because you guys kind of already answered some questions I was going to ask you about what you do and what, the day in the life of is. So just to break it up a little bit, and we can do a really quick succession of answers. And this is something that's been weighing heavily on our minds as career professionals here at Ivy Tech, but what one skill do you think is fundamental, essential for any person entering IT? Dustin, you don't have to raise your hand, just shout it out.
So first I want to caveat, I'm going to skip soft skills, the transferable skills, but from a technical standpoint, I think no matter what you're doing in this day and age, you need to have a base in networking. And not people networking, not social engineering networking, actual TCP/IP, OSI model networking.
Okay.
I think that analytical skills are monumental because when you get into a situation, and nowadays teams IT is always trying to get lean. and teams are getting smaller and smaller. So you're not going to always have a situation where there's going to be a subject matter expert or somebody on the team who can just immediately go in there and identify the problem and fix it. So you got to have obviously the technical jobs are important, but you have to be able to be the type of person who's going to want to go in there and do the troubleshooting, do the digging, try to figure out what's going on, and be that one who may want to take up the mantle to fix it. Because sometimes you may have no other choice. It might be you. So if you don't like to dig into stuff and troubleshoot, figure out how to like it, because that part of it is going to be very important.
Yeah, I want to second that. I think the key skill in ITM, at least in my experience, is problem solving. You have to want to be able to jump into a problem and work the problem to a solution. Because if you're not doing that, you're following a cookbook, and that's an easily automatable skill. And so being able to think out of the box and kind of expand upon it is super duper essential.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, so if I'm looking for somebody that has further along in their career, I typically look for somebody that has a history of acquiring new skills. If I'm looking for somebody earlier in the career, I'm looking for somebody who fits. It's a good individual fit, a good team fit, a good organizational fit. And I would say that the things that folks are really curious about that drive them to do something that they would do outside of just like something they're passionate about, but I don't like to double tap on the whole idea of just being passionate about and following that. You have to find something that you couldn't put down, that you had to keep on going because you were just kind of driven to that. But yeah, if it's somebody later in their career, that idea of picking up new skills, that is valuable, because every 2 to 3 years, you're going to be picking up new skills. There's no doubt that'll happen. It'll happen many times over.
Thank you, Nathan.
I'll take it.
I would like to,
Go ahead.
No. Just to echo that, I was just going to say, being able to be open to change, because it's constantly changing. And as others have said, being open to creativity and just not being flexible, I think, are some key traits also.
Jim.
I guess I shouldn't have gone so far down because everyone's said a lot of great answers. But actually, Roberta actually hit it on the head. I think creativity is probably one of the best skills that you need. Your first job is not going to necessarily look like, your first week may not look like your second week, and the problems you see in the first year are not going to look like the problems in the third year. So being creative and being able to share that creativity has a lot about how you can grow into your environment.
I'll add collaboration to the mix, because I think the problems that we are going to be solving are going to require us all to work together, whether it's a small team or a large team, whether it's within the technology team or the business at large. I think you have to be able to work with others to solve the problems of the future.
Yeah, and I'll pile on there with Jeff. As I've worked through my career and the ladder, as you go from the guy pulling Cat 5 in a basement looking face to face to a rat, towards being stuck in an office and I can't get out. Like those, when you're on the phone, like helping people with help desk problems, or you're face to face with them at 5 o'clock and they're in tears over something, those relationships that you build and the collaboration are going to be with you as you move on to your career. So 4 years later, when a marketing person comes in and wants you dead, like you can sit down and you have a relationship and you can collaborate on a level where you can't. So to echo Jeff's point, collaboration is going to be a key part. The problems that we are facing now are not easy, and they're multifaceted, and it involves a lot of different departments coming together to solve these things.
Thank you so much. These were great answers. And I did appreciate the fact that there was some non-soft skills, or what we're calling now employability skills, thrown in there. So you all heard that networking fundamentals, which I think everyone has to take at Ivy Tech if they're in an IT program. Make sure that you pass that class and retain that information, because it's going to be vital to you in your success, as well as your collaboration and teamwork and creative problem solving skills. Was that a good summary of that? All right. So next, we were talking, of course, about networking technically, but what about networking for your professional brand and moving ahead in your career? What do you think is the best methods of networking? How important is it? What are your initial thoughts about it? You know, go nuts.
Okay, yeah, all right. So I'll be the first person to say I hate networking with a passion, because being in IT for so many years and being technical for so many years, we like to go off in our own space and not be bothered by people. But the thing that I've noticed along my career is that you kind of can't avoid it. It's something that you have to do. And unfortunately, it's just one of those things where you have to get out of your comfort zone. I know I used to, back years ago, I was a part of this group called Toastmasters that helped me to get over my fear of public speaking. And I still have that fear. It doesn't matter that I did Toastmasters or not, I did it anyway. But as I've gotten, I don't want to say older, but as I've gotten farther into my career, I finally got to the point where I've reached out, like to Jeff and to other peer groups. All throughout the earlier parts of my career, I never did any networking or peer groups, but I've stumbled upon them recently, and they've been really helpful in getting me to meet more people, especially now that my roles have changed as often as they have. But I would say, as far as not only just trying to find a role and trying to find the right role, for me, it's really been 50-50. I've had 10 companies over the duration of my career, and it's been 50% of me doing the job hunt on my own, and 50% of me getting the job based on someone I knew there. So it really just depends on the situation. But unfortunately, networking is one of those things that you're going to have to go out there, do some Google searches. And I think that it's important to find a peer group that is not only where your aspirations, where it's going to help you to go eventually, you also want to find some peer groups that are where you are now or where you will quickly be, because it's nice to be around like-minded people or people who have the same goals, because they'll help you to get to where you need to be, and you can bounce ideas off people, learn from people, things that, especially if you're getting into a new field. There's so many things that I've learned from the CIO network group that Jeff is learning, that Jeff leads, that I had no idea that I should be knowing that type of stuff in my role. But you don't know what you don't know unless you get out there and meet people who have actually walked that path before you.
As a slight counterpoint, part of the reason that I started Indie Hackers was because I found that there are groups masquerading as just groups of people who really like a programming language or some technology that are actually networking groups, and we don't mention that normally. We don't want to talk about the fact that that's actually a networking group. My Indie Ruby Brigade that gets together monthly and talks about code. We're just talking about code, and that's a thing that we are passionate about and do every day. And so nobody notices that it is networking, and it's not all terrible. But I think I actually did this recently because Jessica and I were talking about it. I don't think I've gotten a job since I was 13 that wasn't based on who I knew. Just to kind of bring this back to a very Hoosier space, that job when I was 13 was detasseling corn. So that's the only job I've ever gotten that I didn't know somebody that got me that job.
We need to talk, Miles. You looking for a job, buddy?
In the past 10 years, for sure, they've all been someone I knew via one of these groups, kind of in the Indie Hackers umbrella. So highly encourage that thing.
Yeah, I would just kind of piggyback on that too. One of the things that kind of got me involved in networking was actually being involved in vendor relationships. So being in the procurement side and having to deal with vendors, you get to meet a lot of people. You get to meet a lot of crazy people, but that is the indie vendor market is a small group and people rotate, but you get to know people there, and then they start connecting you with customers and like-minded people. So that's how I, kind of got started with networking. a mentor of mine also said that if you ever find yourself in a group and you're the smartest person in the room, you need to find a new room. You know, make sure that you're surrounding yourselves with smart people.
I'm gonna talk because Jeff Tunn actually wrote a book on this, so I'm gonna try to get my word in before he gets, so I don't just say ditto. You know, my history with networking kind of mirrors Brad's. That's exactly how I got into it too. But since I've really understood the purpose and the value of your network, regardless of what network it is, you know, I would also recommend, I can't remember who said it, being a part of potentially multiple networks. Ones that challenge you, ones that support you, one that, you know, helps you find and cultivate your passions. But even as a hiring manager, I have to say I lean on my network. I lean on the availability of social networks out there to really help find that great talent, because it tells so much about who you are potentially. That it definitely gives me an ability to judge help understand the person who's going to be working with me, to make sure it's a good fit.
Since Mike teed me up so well, I'll have to jump in here. To amplify what other people have said, studies have shown that 87% of jobs that are filled through your professional network. 87% have some attribution to someone that you know. And the other interesting piece of information is that 80% of jobs are never posted publicly. So the only way you're going to find them is through your professional network. So I encourage you to build that network. It is something, it's a lesson that I learned later in my career that I wish I'd known when I was starting out my career, that the power of your professional network can make the difference in finding your next job, but it also can make a difference in the success of your current one.
Yeah, I mean, I want to echo all that, you know, and Jessica gave the talk a couple years ago to the students, the career hacking, know something, know somebody. And, you know, like everybody else said, I got all my jobs through nepotism. And it works, right? Once you build that trust with your network. The problem with students, and especially students that, you know, first generation college goers, or they don't have that broad network, they look to mentors that, you know, have limited amount of time. And so I remind my students that, you know, the group that they work with together, these are the people that are going to be their peers out in the industry also. So, you know, the group projects, even though everybody hates them, you know, it's building that camaraderie and that teamwork and that trust. And, you know, there's been a number of people that I've worked with and crossed paths with that, you know, I went to school with, and I've recommended them for jobs or vice versa. So building that peer group while you're in school is really key. And then something else that I've been doing, you know, I've got master's level students that are in, you know, career, they're working, and then I've got undergrad students that are maybe doing something part-time, doing like an open office hours group. You know, and that's, you know, pivots on me, but the idea there is that you don't have to have somebody that, you don't have to reach out to Jeff Tunn and say, hey, you know, let me hang out with you, right? You can find somebody that's just a couple steps ahead, or at the company that you want to work at eventually, and reach out on LinkedIn and kind of build that relationship that way. Because it works. I mean, the number of people that I've met just because they, you know, contacted me via LinkedIn and said, I want to know more about this. Do you have time? When is it convenient? Has rolled into a lot of great, you know, conversations and relationships. So students, don't be afraid to reach out to people, even if you don't know them, because, you know, almost everybody is willing to help you any way that they can.
It's true. So I do want to save some time so we can have our students ask you questions. And so I'm just going to ask this final question. We know that the current state of hiring in general is kind of been disrupted because of COVID. And so several of our students, majority of my students actually, are freaking out because they can't get internships or get hands-on experience the traditional way. So as directors, managers, you know, higher ups, what would you say what kind of experience or projects or volunteer experience would you be looking for in these students to show that they would be a good fit, that you would take a chance on them when the time does come to start hiring again, hopefully in the next quarter or next fiscal year?
I would look for, I think I like the idea of people putting on their resume, especially people right out of college, people putting on their resumes, highlighting specific school projects that they worked on, that they feel like they got something out of it. Because I was lucky enough that I've been able to hire 3 people in the past 3 years directly out of college. Of course, they didn't have any experience. Of course, they didn't have, the opportunities to be able to get their foot in the door. But they highlighted those projects and let me see that, I didn't have that job, but I worked really hard on this school project and I know that I got something out of it. And so then when I called them in for the interview, we specifically talked about that and how comfortable they were and how, I guess, excited they were to talk about what they did in there. That was enough for me. I know here in my position, I've brought on students to come in and do job shadowing with people on my team. And I granted the schools that I worked with, the schools kind of supported that. So I don't know if AgTech supports that or not. But even if you guys have an opportunity to reach out to some of us on LinkedIn or to reach out to anyone on LinkedIn that you might know who is willing to allow you to come in and do job shadowing, that right there is going to help you to do it. Because I know it's hard getting an internship. I have a daughter who's a freshman at IUPU right now, and I'm going into IT, and I'm trying to help her get out there and try to find internships too. She's going to be at the lower end of the totem pole because they're looking for people who will have like maybe 2 years or more. But the quicker you can get in there and start trying to find those internships, even if you're a freshman and they're asking for that, go ahead and apply anyway, because eventually you might get that opportunity. Take that chance. But don't underestimate this work, the schoolwork that you're doing right now, because those of us who are looking for junior level positions, we're looking at that type of thing, and we want to see that you did the work and you want to try to highlight it.
I'll just
One thing
tag on.
Oh,
sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, you're fine.
All right. I'll just tag on that also, and it kind of goes with your school projects, but there's several different opportunities. I'll just throw out Tableau as a reporting visualization tool, but you can access different types of data sources on your own, and then you can use a trial opportunity to use Tableau, and then you publish that up to a public site. And I believe Power BI and other different organizations, I know different hackathons and different things like that. So I would just say, even if you're not doing a formal project, if you're wanting to take that knowledge and to learn on the side, publicize that work that you guys are doing and to share that, especially when you're going in and you're having interviews, and say, hey, this wasn't anything formal that I did for a project, but here's something I did on my own. So that's showing, again, that creativity that I had mentioned on there. And also just be open to maybe internships that don't pay. I completed 3 internships, 1 in my undergrad and then 2 on my master's. But my very first one was not paid. And yeah, I know that that's challenging, but again, it opened up the door and I was able to then show that I got some experience that way. So there might not be opportunities for paid internships this year, but if you can find a company that will at least let you come in and do something for free, I would say take those opportunities as well. Zach?
Yeah, thank you. So I actually graduated from college during the last Great Recession, when there were no jobs at all or anything like that. And the unemployment rate for my age group was about 25%. And it's terrifying. And I get that. You'll put in a lot of job applications and you'll get out there. But one of the things I do want to stress, employers in particular will respond to real world applications of your education. So, we spoke a little bit about internships and whatnot, but also volunteer activities. There are a lot of nonprofits that are out there, especially if you want to get into an analytics field, that need analytical help. And on your resume, you'll be able to demonstrate, helping this organization solve a key business need. Maybe it's funding, maybe it's marketing. Maybe it's something along those lines. And that will make you stand out quite a bit resume wise. And yeah, another big thing is, as you approach the job market, for your first job outside of school, be kind of comfortable with taking a position to kind of establish a beachhead, so to speak. Sometimes the dreams have to wait, but that's okay. It's all right to get started somewhere and start building up your skills and building up experience. And I think that's probably the way, if the current job situation continues, that's how you'll have to probably proceed, just as FYI.
Just a quick note for those of you in software engineering or development of some sort, those like passion projects on the side that you're doing and putting up on something like GitHub or GitLab or what have you can be super valuable for a prospective employer to look at. I don't care if it's some web app you built to organize your like Friday night D&D game, like anything like that that's flexing those muscles that we can see is important.
This is all great advice, and hearing it directly from the pros makes it even more like solid advice. So with that, we have about 15 minutes left before we switch over to work and learn fair mode. But if any students have any questions right now, feel free to unmute or just put them in the chat box and we'll go ahead and start that conversation. Clayton Moore, right off the hitch, he has a specific question for Dustin. I know you mentioned networking is important, and I agree with this. What kind of learning path do you suggest for someone that has a high interest in penetration testing, offensive security, or ethical hacking? For example, what certifications or classes do you believe he should be taking?
Yeah, and so this is an awkward answer. So I've got some outstanding pen testers, AppSec guys at Pondurance that don't have degrees or don't have certifications. And so as an adjunct at Ivy Tech, it's hard for me to say that, but they are talented because they do the work and they were passionate about it. They set up home labs and they went down that route. So from the class standpoint, so like right now I'm teaching, CSIA 210, it's a networking class. Ivy Tech also has the CEH class. There's so many good resources out there to learn to do this. And also, having your home lab where you've got Kali or Parrot and you've got some vulnerable boxes, virtual boxes free, just being able to understand the tools and that whole route and cycle and the methodology of pen testing is so valuable, but it's one of those where it's not a check the box approach, right? So pen testers are artists, and so your approach is going to be different. So I think if you go down that CSIA path at Ivy Tech, and you'll get a lot of exposure, but don't stop there. If you're interested in the ethical hacking, keep digging into that as much as you can. Learn not just Windows and Linux and Metasploit, but why these things work, and then also some administrative things. So it's not just relying on your tools. You can also rely on, where sloppy administrators have messed up. So it's one of those where, you're never going to be done learning in that career. But yeah, starting there with learning the networking, learning kind of the baseline information with your CEH class or whichever you're going to take at Ivy Tech is a great place to start. Don't feel like you're done there though.
Excellent. Stephanie has a question for Jeff. What advice might you give to an employee who may not be so confident in their skill set that could help them grow and become a bit more confident?
That is such a great question, because confidence can be such an elusive thing to an individual. And I would say that one of the things that you can do is be persistent in what you are doing. You have a skill. You may not have years and years and years of experience like the developers that may be around you or the techs that are around you, but concentrate on what you can do and get very, very good at that. And the other piece of that is you're going to be surrounded by others. Learn from them. That's one of the things that I love about people in the tech field. We love to teach each other. We love to ask each other questions and grow. My first programming job, I moved from the business side of a bank over into application development. I didn't know how to code in PL1 at the time. Sorry, I'll age myself. Anybody knows PL1, raise your hand. It was cooler than COBOL. I will say that. PL1 was cooler than COBOL. But what I was able to do was to learn from the people around me that sat in the area of the offices that I was in, and I learned how to write code from observing them and showing them pieces of code, and that helps you grow in your confidence as they start to take an interest in what you're doing. So leverage the people around you and focus on what you do well.
Fantastic. Drew asks a really great question. Drew is the IT career coach here at the Indy campus. So he's helping our students with that comprehensive care to get them prepared for the workforce. He's asking, when you are looking at a resume, what level of proficiency are you looking for or expecting in that skills section, especially for technical skills from an entry level perspective or internship?
Yeah, I would love to talk about this because this is something that hits data scientists everywhere when we get applications in general, when you're a data scientist, you're putting algorithms or some approach or technologies that you've used in the past. It's the same thing across tech. You'll list a skill. Anything you put on your resume is fair game to be discussed, full stop. When someone is saying that it's a skill that they have, especially in my field, which is very analytical and all that, I'm going to ask them how that algorithm works and how they actually applied it. But in general, with any technology, you should be somewhat prepared to kind of do that. That's not to say that you can't make a mistake or anything like that. It's just to make it to the resume, you know, there is kind of an expectation that your proficiency is very high.
Yeah, I'd like to chime in on that too. This is a major pet peeve of mine. You know, when anything you put on the resume, just like what Zach said, you need to be truthful in how you're portraying yourself. And so, you know, there is nothing more annoying than to get into an interview and someone's like, hey, I've managed 10,000 VMs. And you're like, hey, that sounds pretty cool. Tell me about it. Well, I didn't really do it, but my team did, you know, or something. So be truthful in that. And like what Zach said, if somebody asks you, hey, tell me a little bit about this or like that, you can say, you know, here's how I've interacted with this technology, or here's how I've used it, or what I think that it is, but do not oversell yourself in that at all. And then be ready to ask questions, because if you do that, then that tells us a lot about your character. And then that also tells us about how approach the business. And most of the times when we find that, the interview's done, like I'm done. So that is a huge major problem. So hopefully that aligns with what you're telling them, Jessica, in the coaching. But
I think it is. Is it, Drew? Yes, we are. We're all about truth. I mean, and honestly, right, you can teach tech skills. It's that passion, that drive, that yearning to know more and to have, you know, get the answers yourself. That really would be the difference between two candidates, right? You could get somebody that's really green, but is obviously hungry and wants to be your girl Friday. And they might have a better chance than somebody that does actually have that technical knowledge, but is a lousy.
Exactly. And, you know, it's okay, just like what Miles said, it's okay to put, hey, I've been messing around with this on Friday nights, or I've got this thing put together. It's okay to just say, hey, I'm not sure what this is, but here's what I've been doing. That drive shows us way more. You lie on your resume, like, I don't care if you cured cancer, you're out of here, you know? So that is extremely important.
Absolutely. Even in the data science world, it's the whole story. The lie on the resume is a guaranteed no. You having a project that is kind of in line is a potential yes. And just showing that passion and also the ability to learn things. I mean, that's an incredible skill. And sometimes it makes up for not being able to list very specific things on your resume, and it's great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think our students need to hear that right now for sure. Nathan?
Yeah, so that when that type of thing comes up, it goes back to integrity, right? And so you want to trust somebody. You want a relationship based off mutual trust and respect, and that's why it's kind of a no-go situation. We ask a question, which is it's like an amalgam of something that like Elon Musk asked essentially, but it's like the one technical question that we typically ask. And people ask, why don't you ask more technical questions? Because usually I have an interview that goes later. That's about technical questions. And honestly, every job that focused on technical questions were jobs that I ended up leaving because it wasn't led the way that I actually wanted to be. I wanted leadership to behave. So and that question is more about like, what would, tell us about a time where you had to solve a problem and how you solved that problem, and you were really proud about solving that problem. Now, what am I really asking for? Tell me a story. Tell me about how proud you were to solve a problem, and tell me the details. And as you're getting the question answered, you're asking, now tell me a little more about that. And you're digging down into how they logically solve the problem. You're getting down to how they're troubleshooting. And usually by there, you can understand if somebody is touching on just a very brief response, or they're actually getting down to the gist of it. And if they're proud of it, they're going to remember it because it's created a memory. It's created a memory of a great situation, something they're proud of. And that's the type of thing you want to bring out of somebody. And I will tell you, the people that are introverts, like me, there's in confidence, there's underconfidence, overconfidence, and then humility. And when you're an introvert, sometimes you can be super humble and you're not good about selling yourself. But if you go into what they're proud about, then you're going to learn about some crazy situation where they got some app to run on wine that should have never worked, but they got it to work, and they tell you all the details, and it just pours out of them, right? And that's what I hired the guy that told me that story because it was amazing. And it told me all these things about him that he couldn't tell me just by answering regular questions, right? You got to get to that part, and sometimes you need a little help to get there.
Jessica, there's just one real quick thing that I want to add. I'm reading some of the questions here, and I'm getting the vibe that people are nervous. People want to put things in their resume, but they're nervous about the approach and how to put something in there without going overboard. And that would just make me kind of circle back to what I was saying about the projects that you guys are doing in school. None of us on this call, nobody is expecting people who are coming right out of college to be an expert at anything except learning. So list those projects, and in those projects, if it's some tool that you guys use and you would like to point out that you've touched this tool, but you're like, well, I'm a beginner and should I even waste my time putting it on a resume? List it under your project section, and that way we can know, I know I'm not an expert in Oracle or anything like that, but we had to use Oracle for this particular project, and this is what I learned. That way you can still point out that you've been introduced to it, but you don't have to leave it out because you don't think that you have the right level of skill set and you don't want to be borderline lying. Because again, if anybody on here is expecting the person coming right out of college to be an expert, and then that means you can't put anything on your resume because you're not. But you don't want to leave out stuff that you've worked hard on. So just put it in there and put it in a way that we can truly understand that, yes, they're a beginner, but they've touched it.
All right, there's lots of conversations happening right now, and we are actually getting ready to transfer over to the official work and learn fair portion of this event. And I am more than happy to keep the conversation going in the main room. But while I am assigning recruiters to their breakout rooms and opening up those breakout rooms for students that are eager to talk to you about your open positions and future positions, I will be over here in the background. So keep this conversation going or drop off if you need to. We're happy to have you. And if any of the panelists want to stay and have your own breakout room, let me know and I can build one for you too. Okay.
Yeah, one thing I want to mention, I see in the chat about the entry-level job in cybersecurity, like help desk. My recommendation is reverse engineer it, right? Go to the company that you want to work at, look at their job posting and see what they're asking for. And if you know that there are gaps in your knowledge, address those gaps. And then, like everybody said, be transparent about, this is an emerging skill for me. I'm working on this. I saw that you're asking for it, so I'm learning this, and be able to talk about how you're learning it. That's my advice for any job. And if you want to get into a specific job type that you don't know the company yet, take 3 or 4 of those job openings, look at them, pull them together, create a matrix of skills that everybody's asking for, and kind of create your own curriculum. So, supplement what you're doing at Ivy Tech with some self-learning and be able to talk about that.
I just want to say thank you to Jessica and all the employers for having interesting questions and opening yourselves up to us. And anyway, I have to drop off, but thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thanks for having us, Jessica.
Thank you guys so
Hopefully
much.
we're
I really
helpful.
appreciate it.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.